Hey guys, what's up? So I finally got something that I've been wanting to get for a while now, and with this, we are finally going to get into Otomedius. So Otomedius, you might be able to guess, is a side-scrolling shooter from Konami. The name is derived from Gorgeous, with Otome meaning maiden. You'll control as one of several maidens that are operating a Gorgeous-like Vic Viper ship. The game was originally released in Japanese arcades in 2007, featuring a touchscreen. The game later releasing on the Xbox 360 in 2008 as Otomedius Gorgeous, with more characters and features, including support for the widescreen aspect ratio. Because the Xbox 360 obviously doesn't have touchscreen support, a special controller was commissioned by Hori featuring authentic arcade controls and a touchpad to simulate the touchscreen features in the game. Now, I have a bit of a fascination with unique controllers like this, especially on the 360, and I was finally able to get this for a reasonable price. So later on, we'll take a more intimate look at my joystick, and we'll completely strip down on camera one of these and a Hori Real Arcade Pro EX just to kind of compare the differences between the two. Now, the touch features aren't completely necessary for gameplay. They allow you to just quickly navigate menus and pester molester the maidens and Maidan in between stages. Oddly enough, there are achievements attached to harassing the flight crew enough times, upwards to 573 times. The special controller isn't required to obtain these achievements. You can actually just use the analog sticks and navigate an on-screen cursor instead. So what is the actual gameplay like? Well, I really like this one. It's not too challenging. I mean, there are multiple difficulty levels you can choose from, but at the normal difficulty level, it's not too bad. And I really like the bright, vivid colors, the blue skies, the green grass. That's actually one of the things I really like about Nintendo games. And this game kind of has that same feel for me. Now, you'll notice a lot of similarities with other Konami shooters, like the power-up system, for instance. It's kind of structured the same way, with the option, speed up, missile, etc. And you've got the penguins from Paradius, and remember the volcanoes from Gradius. And the design is shared with some of the boss ships, like where they have multiple shields you have to chip away at to get at the core. Plus, the more you play, the more points you'll earn, which you can spend to unlock weapon loadouts and upgrades. This is a feature that I love to see in shooters, and I've been seeing it more and more in some of the newer indie shooters, where the more you practice, the more points you earn, or the more currency you can earn to unlock new upgrades. Alright, as you can see, both controllers look pretty similar, aside from the added buttons on the Real Arcade Pro EX and the touchpad on the Hyperstick Pro G. The buttons on the Real Arcade Pro EX feel a little chunky. If I press them just right, I can feel some plastic on plastic resistance. Like it's just scraping when I press that. The buttons on the Hyperstick Pro G, on the other hand, are really smooth. Now I like to open up my arcade sticks when I get them just to see what we're working with, and this one in particular does have something rattling around inside, so I gotta find out what's going on there. By default, it looks like there's a square gate in the Arcade Pro and an octagonal gate in the Hyperstick Pro G. If you like to roll your arcade stick or lock it into the outer edges, you'll probably prefer the octagonal gate, because if I push left or right with the square gate, I can easily drift up or down. With the octagonal gate, it locks precisely into position. Of course, doesn't matter too much, because whichever gate you prefer, it's personal preference, and it can be easily swapped out. Alright, so let's go ahead and open them up. First thing I see under the backplate is the Hyperstick Pro G has an extra ground wire attached to the backplate. Alright, let's remove the top cover. Okay, the wires are a bit tighter on the Hyperstick Pro G, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the ground wire and we'll just extend that later. Both control sticks are Sanwa, so that's great. Here you can see the square gate and the octagonal gate. The Hyperstick Pro G also uses Sanwa buttons. These feel really nice, good quality buttons. The Real Arcade Pro EX uses some type of generic buttons as far as I can tell. I don't see any branding on it, and these definitely feel very cheap. In addition to the extra ground wire on the Hyperstick Pro G, it also has several noise filters. Overall, pretty good build quality. Okay, so it looks like my rattling issue was just a piece of hot glue that had broken off. They used hot glue to kind of secure a lot of the connections in the Hyperstick Pro G, and there's a lot of old tape to secure wires in the Real Arcade Pro EX. Unfortunately, Otomedius G and the special touchy controller was never released outside of Japan. But later, in 2011, a sequel titled Otomedius Excellent was released in Japan and abroad, with North America receiving a special edition, which includes a two-sided pillowcase, art book, and soundtrack. Who needs the touchy controller when we can finally be so close? Excellent is basically more of the same. They put a little more effort into the 3D backgrounds for this one, but I kind of find them just a little distracting. I actually prefer the stages in Gorgeous. I do, however, like the character animation that they added. That's a nice touch, and there are a lot more stages, bosses, and characters to play as. At any rate, if you like side-scrolling shooters, it's hard to go wrong with Konami, and these are certainly no exception. Alright guys, until next time, I'll see you later.
おっとそこは勘弁な。